Daniel Sports Central, we go for a college football game preview and prediction on the Week 10 matchup between the Georgia Bulldogs and the Missouri Tigers. A matchup between a team who is at the top and a team who is on the rise as we look forward to Week 10. Georgia's a team who is 8-0 on the season, top-ranked team in the country as they have been all season. And they've got their biggest test of the season coming up here in the first weekend of November. And who would have thought it's going to be against Missouri coming up here in Week 10? Mizzou is a team who's ranked in the top 15 right now. 7-1 on the season. This is a dangerous team as we look forward to Week 10. And they've got the opportunity of a lifetime as they take on Georgia here in Week 10. We'll be going over a full game preview and prediction on this matchup here today. Let's get started with their team trends. Mizzou beat South Carolina 34-12 in their last matchup. This team is 7-1 on the season, 3-1 in conference. So a nice win in their last one. And obviously this is a team that's also coming off of a bye as well. So for Mizzou, that is an advantage for this team. They're going to be rested up and hopefully a bit healthier as well heading into this one. And obviously plenty of time to prepare for what is the test of the season to this point for Mizzou. But for Georgia, just beat Florida 43-20. Probably the second big test of the season, I'd say, for Georgia. And Florida's honestly not even that good of a football team. It's just so happened that Georgia's got a pretty easy regular season or a pretty easy schedule this year. But I will say, though, in their two biggest tests they have had so far this season, I would say those two tests were against Kentucky and then against Florida this past week. They beat Kentucky 51-13. Kentucky was ranked in the top 20 when they played them, and they were looking hot heading into that one. So that was obviously a huge game, and took care of Florida no problem. So point being, Georgia's a team that has shown up when they've needed to, and they haven't been dominant in every matchup, maybe as you would expect, and even in comparison to the past couple of years, especially defensively. But this team has found a way, and especially in the biggest games, this team has really performed well. So, I mean, for Mizzou, that is something that maybe is a bit concerning. But, I mean, Georgia, this is the top-ranked team in the country for a reason. They are built to win. They've won back-to-back national championships. And, I mean, this team has been questioned a bit this season, but there's no doubt this is a team that is right up there as a national favorite this year. Games me on Saturday, November 4th in Athens, so Georgia is also the home team for this one, and your kickoff is 3:30 Eastern. Spread's going with Georgia by 16. That's your opening spread, so that could change over the course of the week, but as of right now, Georgia, pretty heavy favorite against another top 15 opponent in Mizzou. Over-under is 55.5. And the FPI is also going with Georgia 83%. Series history, Georgia leads at 11-1. We've only seen Mizzou beat Georgia once, and that was back in 2013. So otherwise, Georgia's been dominant in this series. They've won 9 straight heading into this matchup, trying to make it 10 here in Week 10. Stat comparison, Missouri 20th in points per game, 53rd in points allowed, but this is one of the best passing games in the country here with Missouri. Brady Cook is a name that's kind of come on the radar this season. We knew he was a decent quarterback coming into the season, but he's overall been very impressive this year. 2,200 yards of passing on the year, 15 touchdowns, 3 picks. Doesn't turn over the ball much, which is huge, and obviously that's going to be especially big in this matchup. But the rushing game, it's been pretty good as well. Obviously, you got Cody Schrader, who's got over 800 yards of rushing on the season, 9 touchdowns. So pretty well-rounded offense in Mizzou. Defensively, they have shown to be a bit vulnerable at times this season, but this is a strong team against the run especially. But problem is, Georgia and Carson Beck, this is a team that has emerged as a strong passing team this season, and obviously Brock Bowers is a huge part of that. Problem is, he is out at this current point being injured. So, I mean, for Missouri, considering that, that's obviously a huge advantage for them. They don't have to worry about Brock Bowers, but this is still a really strong team offensively, especially in the passing game for Georgia. And obviously for the defense as well. I mean, the Bulldogs the past couple of years have been known for their strong defense, but this season I feel like this is a more balanced team. They're not quite as dominant defensively, but offensively I do think this team is better. This is probably the best offense we've seen out of Georgia in their 3 seasons, their 3-season run since 2021. But defensively, it might be the worst. So that is something that you can keep in mind. But your recent matchups, Missouri just beat South Carolina 34-12, also beat Kentucky 38-21, lost LSU by 10, but before that, beat Vanderbilt 38-21, also beat Memphis 34-27. But as for Georgia, beat Florida 43-20, beat Vanderbilt, maybe a closer game than you would expect, and that's kind of been the story of a few games where Georgia, you would say, is a team that should just be blown out. Like, I mean, you look at that Auburn game, it was within 7, and UAB allowed 21 points to them, even though a dominant win. So, I mean, even if you look before that, the South Carolina game. So, Georgia, in maybe the games where they should have been more dominant, they really haven't been. But you look at the games where it really matters, like against Kentucky, where Kentucky was ranked in the top 20, or even against Florida, a pretty good football team. This team has really shown up and played some really good football. But for Missouri, 7-1 on the season, the Tigers are the last three. I mean, this is something that I never expected to say as we look forward to November. But the Tigers are the last true rival to Georgia in the East Division. I mean, Florida's kind of out of the picture now with 2 losses. Tennessee's taken 2 losses in conference. Missouri's only taken 1. This team is still able to win the division. Obviously, it's easier said than done, given they're just about to take on Georgia on the road. But, I mean, it's either Missouri or Georgia for the SEC East at this point. Missouri is, it looks like, the strongest team other than Georgia in the East Division. And so it really a good season for Missouri and what they're putting together here. But Brady Cook and this offense is tough to stop. Georgia's defense is obviously as strong as anybody in the country, but Missouri's found a way against some pretty good defenses this season. That is something to keep in mind. And obviously that LSU game was a pretty good example. They allowed 49 points to LSU, but still scored 39 there, which was good. And they've been in the 30s most of their games this season. So, I mean, this is, but for Missouri, being a team ranked in the top 15, a team that's gotten some good attention this season. But this is truly the chance where they can break through and turn into a national contender. No one's really thought of them as a true national contender quite yet, but if they can find a way and beat Georgia in this matchup, that would jump this team right up there into the top 6, top 7, and they would be right up there in the college football playoff picture. But once again, it's easier said than done. Georgia is a team that is complete on both sides of the ball, and from what we've seen so far this season, when they play a good team, this team shows up, and they are brutal to say the least. So, and offensively, I mean, this team is, I'd say, tougher than 2021 and 2022. I mean, the past couple of years, especially in 2021, this team was known for their defense. I mean, 2021 Georgia is probably one of the best defenses, if not the best defense I've ever seen. And this is a team that defensively, not quite as good this season from what we've seen, but offensively they've been very impressive, and that's something that's also gone a long ways for this team as well. But obviously for Georgia, home field advantage, and another big test for this team. This is the best team this team has played to this point in the season, and we're going to find out a lot about Georgia in November. Obviously Tennessee down the stretch as well on the road, so Georgia from here on out, it is go time for this team. And if they can be dominant in November, I feel like this team is easily your big national favorite as we look forward to the postseason. But with that, let's get the prediction here for this matchup, Missouri and Georgia, coming up here in week 10 of action. And in the end, I do want to go with the favorite, Georgia. Just a matter of how much, and I do think they win by a couple of touchdowns. 38-24 is my predicted final score. I just think Georgia is, this team on the road, and the way they've played against good teams this season, Georgia's just going to win this matchup, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was by more than this. I think Mizzou finds a way to score at least 20 and at least kind of be in it for a while, but Georgia, just too good of a football team, and also with them being at home, I think Georgia's, they're going to have the crowd on their side, and it's going to be tough on Mizzou. But Missouri, despite this is probably going to be a loss here for Missouri, and it's probably going to kick them out of college football playoff contention for good. But for this team to still be in that conversation heading into November is definitely something that shouldn't be overlooked. Missouri's had a really strong season despite what happens in this matchup, and they've got a bright future ahead, and especially in the postseason. Wouldn't be surprised if this team was in a pretty good bowl game. But with that, I'm going to say 65% towards Georgia, so pretty heavily on the Bulldogs here. Over-under is 55.5. I'm taking the over, and Mizzou to cover the spread in the end. But with that, let me know your thoughts in the comments below on this matchup, and stay tuned for more from All Sports Central. I'll catch you on the next one.